Think about how you want to be remembered, and then define the attributes of who you are as people. Do you want people to say they can trust you? Do you want people to say they can help you, that you help them? Be really clear about that, and then build that into your operating model. That's how you'll become unforgettable. Many, many people don't do that first.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Engati Engage. I'm your host, Jeremy D'Souza, and today we have the Godmother of Customer Experience, Jeanne Bliss, with us. But before diving into this interview, allow me to give you a quick introduction to Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual, no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 25,000 bots, created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. We run the Engati blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And now, for our guest. Jeanne Bliss is a leadership and customer experience advisor and keynote speaker who motivates and guides the world's most beloved companies to become unforgettable, earning growth and admiration through their elevated business practices and the humanity of their people. She is the founder and CEO of Customer Bliss, and co-founder of the Customer Experience Professionals Association. As a strategic advisor, she's guided over 20,000 leaders on using her 5 competency framework, proven to achieve customer-driven growth. As a keynote speaker, 1,500 of the world's largest companies have asked her to address their audiences on how to elevate their position with customers and in the marketplace. Jeanne, we're really thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. Good to be with you as well.
Perfect. So, shall we dive into the questions now?
Sure.
Let's go. First up, could you walk us through your 5 competency framework?
Sure. The 5 competencies are a way to embed leading in a certain way that always elevates an understanding of customers to drive your growth. And this is really the missing link in a lot of customer experience transformation work. The first competency is honor and manage customers as the asset of your business. And what that means is doing simple customer math that's united across the organization to always start with, as a result of the experience we delivered, all of us, did we earn the right to grow? What this does is it connects experience to the financials of the business and, most importantly, growth. On my website, there's a page that says the 5 competencies, and it walks through each of these as well as a video for each one that goes into more detail. The second competency gives your leadership team and the organization a frame to drive accountability, not based on internal silos, but based on customers' goals. And so what this means is bringing together your organization to understand customers' goals, understanding the metrics that will drive them, and then building how you even listen to customers across goals. Some might call it a journey map. I've been calling it a goal map lately. So that's really creating a one company frame for language for driving accountability. The third competency is uniting multiple sources of information to listen and understand. You know, surveys are great, but they're not the only way to understand customer feedback. As you all know, we want to scrape social, we want to understand complaint trending, we want to send our leaders to do experiential listening to understand what's happening. So when you knit all these things together, it becomes a long sentence. As a result of the experience we delivered, did we keep more customers than we lost, or valuable customers? Let's now traverse each of our customers' goals to understand where we are. In goal 3, onboarding or whatever it might be, here's our feedback, here's what's happening, and we're ending with the score, but we're collecting a lot of information so that we're describing the customer's life before we validate it or give a numeric number to it. We don't want customer experience to be about a score or chasing a score. The fourth competency is what I call your revenue erosion early warning system. And that's across customer goals, are you tracking the metrics that they care the most about? Often our metrics are internal. For example, when we worked with a very large airplane manufacturer that made planes for private individuals, the parts guys wanted to have a service and parts experience. The customer doesn't have a services parts experience. They want to have a keep me flying experience. So are the metrics about how many parts you sold, or are the metrics you're tracking and rewarding people based on how many times your customers had to go down when they didn't want to go park the plane, when they didn't want to park the plane? So are we tracking and measuring and rewarding ourselves for the things that customers need to achieve, meaning their goals? And we need to know when those goals are going south before our customers tell us. So again, as you think about those goals, it's reorienting what we measure, what we reward, and what we really focus on. The fifth competency is what I call the prove it to me competency. It's, are our leaders behaving in a way that enable our people to thrive, that enable them to deliver value? So by customer goal, are we hiring the right people? Are we, for example, saying we're customer focused, but we send our salespeople on so many sales runs, there's no way they can have a diagnostic conversation? Are we forcing our call center people to toggle between so many screens, there's no way? Or we're making them policy cops and not giving them the ability to make the call. This is also about leaders having a common language on how they unite the organization and reward people. So those are the 5 competencies. It took me 35 years to figure that out. So there's a lot more content on that.
But you definitely packed it in a really good way right now. Summarized it really well over here.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
So next up, how can AI and technology in general improve customer experiences?
Sure. You think about it as another listening, right? So in all of this work that we're doing, the important thing is that we don't turn it into its own silo or make it separate, but rather think of AI as another piece of your operational listening around your early warning detection system, or your ability to really understand customers' needs. One of my favorite examples of this is the company Stitch Fix that uses AI to blend with high touch. So the most powerful companies are using AI, high tech and high touch to drive better, more relevant service and experiences. So Stitch Fix, what they do is they ask you a certain number of things, but then they also blend that with AI to see what other people like you like in their box of clothes that's being delivered. And then they hand that information to over 4,000 stylists who then customize it in a human way with the data. So that's important. Remember when digital came out or mobile came out, we were creating a mobile strategy separate from the total customer experience strategy. That makes no sense. The key is that it's all got to be blended, and it's a whole package of tools to help the customer achieve the goal.
Absolutely. It has to all fit in together into one big thing.
Because we get I heard that somebody was building a chief AI officer. Well, that's great. But again, the key is that we really got to make sure that everything starts with the customer goal and how are we connecting all those pieces.
Yeah. And of course, you can't expect AI to do the entire thing on its own.
No.
You got to get AI to do the number crunching, make observations, and then let the human make the decision.
Well, and the other thing is, if you don't have clarity of purpose of what you're really delivering that's different than other people and how you improve customers' lives, all AI is going to do is help you be faster at being mediocre, just like the rest of the pack, right? So without purpose, AI is a tool that everybody's using.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. So, let's say that the business has purpose. It knows what it's supposed to be doing, knows what it wants to do. How can they use, let's say, a chatbot to improve customer service? And which industries do you think have already gotten a head start over here?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of industries are starting to understand chatbots and how to use them. The key is at the beginning when you're building a chatbot is being really clear of the appropriateness of it and when a customer can opt out of it. But before you even build it, really create your tone, right? What do you want to sound like as people? You don't want it to be a bot sounding. So unless you know your language and your personality of your company, your bot will sound like everybody else's bot. So I think the key here is to know who you are as people. What's the tone? Is there anything that really sets you apart from others? And then make sure that the things that you're sending a bot after are things that make the most sense. I think there's always a pendulum that swings that we think, oh, somebody builds a financial sheet and says, we can solve every customer problem with a bot. We can't. Again, it's got to be a blend. And if you force your customer into a bot solution, and that's not appropriate, it's cost you twice as much, right? It's going to cost you for the bot, then it's going to cost you when they then try to reach out to a human afterwards because the bot didn't solve the problem for them.
And it's going to cost us when they go and tell all their friends that this company has a horrible experience.
Right. And this company just doesn't care about humans anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, and we're seeing in this time of COVID, whatever we're calling this thing, is what's old is new. We're actually all craving for human connection.
Yeah.
So, we've got to make sure that this doesn't mean your company has no human face, has no humanity to it.
Yeah. So a bot should essentially be like something to supplement human efforts.
And an extension of your personality as much as it can be too, right?
Exactly. Okay. So since we were talking about the entire COVID thing and everyone wanting, a bit of a human touch,
yep.
How have the lockdowns driven businesses to make, sudden digital transformations? And how should they be making these transformations effectively, keeping CX in mind and trying to have a human element to it?
Well, the biggest thing about what's happening now is that, yes, there has to be a digitalization of certain things, but we also have to practice what I call fearless listening. Move from validating how we're doing on a set of questions we figured out a year ago to going out and understanding what customers' goals and needs are now that have very likely shifted. So if you can move from validating to understanding and use understanding to drive action and then focus on a few things versus every silo cherry picking their own thing, and then communicate that back to customers in a very clear and concise way, you will be head and shoulders above others.
Perfect. So to understand their customers, companies should be both asking questions, their customers, and they should be asking themselves questions too. What questions do you think they should be asking?
Well, the biggest question is what's keeping you up at night? What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve now in this in the next 3 months? And then reconfiguring how the work of your business will help your customers. What's interesting about this is that we have a moment in time to be part of the memory of our employees and customers of how we helped in this moment.
Yeah.
Because this is going to define companies, and the people who really come back the quickest are going to be those who had a place in helping people.
Absolutely. So, are there any other thoughts that you'd like to leave with our audience?
Memory creation is the currency of your brand.
Yes.
Think about how you want to be remembered, and then define the attributes of who you are as people. Do you want people to say they can trust you? Do you want people to say they can help you, that you help them? Be really clear about that, and then build that into your operating model. That's how you'll become unforgettable. Many, many people don't do that first.
Definitely. That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much, Jean, for
You're
joining us today. It's pardon the pun, but it's been a really blissful conversation for us over here.
well, thank you. And I hope everybody's safe and well out there. And thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So, Engati Engage will be back with a new episode and a new expert really soon. Stay tuned. And while you're at it, we also have a gift for the entire audience. We have our new ebook on the evolution of customer experiences available for free for all of you. So it's going to be linked in the description. Please check it out. And do follow Jean on her LinkedIn and her Twitter.